Hello, Rimworldians. Welcome back. This is Harriet's 23rd chapter, and it's a busy one. Grab yourself a drink, maybe a blanket, get cozy, and enjoy your story. We rejoin Pixie's dynasty on the night of December the 5th as the Lions the Night Owl sows the last of the heel root. Hours later, in the morning hours of the 6th, he begins reinforcing the western wall. As it turns out, the Boomalope Self-Tame from the previous episode is a male, and it doesn't look like there will be any chemfuel milking from this fella. So, instead, he will be used for combat. Since he's a bit flammable, he's likely to die a glorious death. As a result, I won't name him after any of my investors just yet, unless by request. Before his epic last stand, he will be dubbed Boomy Boy. Moments later, Hypergig, Streams, and Siza are, eating the cemetery decorations. Gonna have to adjust the animal zones a bit. During the zoning, the farming team is mass harvesting the corn and rice. Soon the freezer will be well replenished. As the 6th of the month fades to black, Slag the Pacifist feels inspired. His next recruitment attempt is guaranteed to convert even the most ardent opposition. With Crazy's involvement in the colony, the research team has increased to 3 when chores run short. With so much to develop, the resources for a 3rd research bench would not be wasted. Thus, the lab is extended. Unfortunately, the colony is a little short on components, so they will mine out a nearby node of machinery and disassemble a space chunk. As Harriet passes the ancient danger, her curiosity overwhelms her trepidation. She informs the others, when they finish their current projects, they will be cracking open the steel compound to the south. The benches are later assembled, and a space is left between them to install a multi-analyzer. Harriet works well into the morning when, at 2 hours, a second ambrosia sprout pops up in the northwest. As with the first batch from the previous segment, it is marked for revisitation. While Harriet installs the sterile floors in the extended laboratory, a wooden barricade is hooked around a designated breach point. Harriet's plan is to create an aperture and immediately retreat through a door. If anything hostile is inside, this will slow them down, so she can reach a safe distance. Later on the 9th, the barricade is complete. Everyone is permitted the night to rest for the following day's capture of the ancient compound. The sun rises on the 10th of December as the colony prepares for their risky adventure. Harriet gets into position first to scout the potential threat. The interior reveals a giant insectoid species whose nest has been created in the center of the structure. Harriet radios her compatriots to assemble outside the barricade. She springs open the door and darts out of the volley fire to bait the pests out into the open. The animals wreck the hive, and the citizens of Ark's Banning Salon begin looting the spoils of war. The marble tables and slate urns are returned to the base for use, and the steel sarcophagi are dismantled for resources. With the loose valuables consolidated, the structure is also disassembled for its material value. The ceilings are taken down first, to avoid any collapses overhead, and some pylons are installed to hold up the overhead mountain. Yet another elephant reasons it's better off joining the colony herd than remaining in the wild at 11 hours of the 11th of December. In honor of another investor of Neurons content, this beast will be named Varkle. Thanks for all the gifted subs, bro, and I hope this series has been a worthy production for your input. Moments later, a third ambrosia patch sprouts to the north. As is becoming routine, it is marked to be reminded of its maturation and harvest. In the late afternoon, the multi-analyzer research is concluded. Now the eggheads will commit to developing a machining table to process the many stacking mechanoid corpses and build flak armor to protect the colonists in firefights. With the salvage operation nearly complete, all that remains is to open the cryocaskets. Randy does not seem too keen on allowing this endeavor to continue uninterrupted, however. A massive ship chunk crashes to the north. 2 scythers, 4 pikemen, and psychic emanations roll out from the crash site. Lyons hops on the mortar and fires at the smoldering hull. One shell connects, destroying a pikeman, grazing a scyther, and damaging the psychic disruptor. Another clips the wreck again. As the barrage continues, cargo pods land between the target and Harriet's base containing several bundles of dog leather. Unfortunately, Lyons is not as successful with the remainder of his HE ammunition and stops when he starts digging into the incendiary reserves. This fight will have to be finished at shorter range. The colonists take position behind a plasteel meteorite. The mechs spot Wheel and his massive entourage and pursue them behind the line of sight. As it nears, Harriet's warband springs out from the corner and zergs down the first mech with Adventura leading the charge. The ship is destroyed, and victory is claimed. Everyone hauls back some salvage, and the wounded get tended to. On December the 13th, at 6 hours, some of the dominant elephants of the wild herd resentfully attack Dark. They must perceive the colony as a threat since it is assimilating their kin. Dark runs to the colony calling for aid. Everyone lines up and opens fire on the aggressing pachyderms. All ends well as the colony provisions are now supplied with hundreds of units of meat. At long last, Harriet's squad can investigate the cryopods. Everyone lines up with weapons at the ready as she enters the unloading sequence. Five slaves come tumbling out of their caskets. 2 were dead on arrival. 3 survive, however. They're not in the best condition, but they can be saved. Mushinto is an excellent fighter. Sora is decent as well, but is accompanied by a wider range of useful passions. Nelson has hearing loss, but comes as a good close-quarter combatant, medic, and builder. The squad deliberates, and decides the humane thing is to save them all. The colony is strong enough in their minds that they can handle any burden, and find a use for any who join. The slaves are stripped of valuables, which included components, pemmican, and gold. The gold comes at a great time, since Harriet will need some for the multi-analyzer. Crazy ends up wandering the building in sadness. His mood is low from his general needs being unsatisfied. It also looks like he's been flirting with a taken woman. Brother, exec's taken. Stick to your hand until we can find you a nice single woman. And by find, I mean enslave. Liberate. Slag uses his inspiration to convince Sora of the colony's good intentions, and informs her of the gargantuan insects that were cleared and likely responsible for the death of her 2 other friends in cryo. She eagerly accepts his explanation and joins Harriet's motley crew. In the next room, things are not as positive. Mushinto awakens in immense pain. He is severely disoriented from his cryo sickness and attacks everyone in reach. Wheel puts down his gun and lays out Mushinto in one clean hit. He decides it's best to separate the captures to avoid this mess again. Sora, despite her cooperation, is in rough shape. She wanders the fields in a daze due to her intense pains. Harriet can finally answer the Empire of God's call for assistance. They are requesting she house and medically care for some sexually indiscreet individual until the scandal passes. The medical attention and duration of this pawn would be too burdensome during such a chaotic time for the colony, so Harriet rejects the mission. And so, we come to the end of Chapter 23. Harriet's steel reserves have been heavily filled, her research capabilities expanded, an ancient danger cleared and salvaged, new recruits added to the roster, both animal and human, and the base remains secure. On the next episode, she will need to develop armor, expand food crops for the extra mouths, arm and clothe the new recruits, and construct new residences. Thank you for your attention. Like, sub, ring the bell. As always, my friends, I hope you are safe, healthy, and fulfilled. I will see you on the next one. On December the 13th, she wanders the fields in a daze due to her. She wanders the fields, dicks.